Hey everyone, Richard here. Stuff we can do in Excel. So what we're going to do is look at the subtotal function and the subtotal tool that's embedded in Excel. It's a little confusing, so we're going to try to get rid of some of the confusion. So let's say we've got a range of data and you want to figure out what some of the subtotals are. I'd like to know what the totals are for 2016, 2017, 2018. You might have data where you might want to know information by month or information by region. So how do you get that information, get those subtotals without having to create a pivot table? Because sometimes you don't want to create that pivot table. Well, it's pretty simple. Once we have our range of data and we have it sorted by the item that we want to sort by, in this case it's already sorted by year, what you would do is highlight the entire range of data. And when I highlight the entire range of data, I'm going to go up to the Data tab up on the main ribbon you see up here, and I'm going to go all the way over to the right, and you see this thing under the outline group called Subtotal. Okay, now this is kind of an interesting tool, so I'm going to click on Subtotal and let's see what it does. It's going to create for me, it's going to open this window, it's going to ask, okay, it's going to pick the year. That's the last thing that I sorted by. Okay, so that's the thing. It's going to tell me I want to pick, let's pick sum. We're going to add up. We want all this, and normally what it's going to pick is, instead of this, what it's going to pick, normally it'll have checked the last column, but we don't want the last column. In fact, one time I did this and had everything checked, but all we want to check is just the sales and the cost of goods sold. We want subtotals for those, and let's go ahead and get subtotals for gross margin. Why not, right? So, and I'm going to, it's going to say replace current subtotals. I'm going to say okay. So when I do that, it suddenly opens this up, and we get this screen. We've got 2016, then the subtotals for 2016. 2017, the subtotals for 2017. Same for 18 and 19. If you go down to the bottom, you see grand total for each of those columns, for the grand total for all of those, each of those subtotals added up. Now, what's interesting is we can shut some of these down if we want to. Like if I go and hit this minus sign, it's going to shut that down and just show me the subtotal. Even though the details for 2021 are there, it's just showing me the subtotal. I can open that back up by clicking on the plus sign. I want you to look at over here in the gray. Go to the very top, and you'll see there's three items. This is what we call the outline. Okay. Now, when I do this outline, if I click on 1, it's going to give me just the grand total. Okay. If I click on 2, it's going to give me the grand total and the subtotals. Well, it will if I click on it. There we go. Well, why is it not giving it to me? There it is. For some reason, it wouldn't want to give it to me. So you get the subtotals along with the grand total. And if I click on 3, it'll break it back up into that original version that we saw that has all the information in it. Now, that's a very useful tool. You can click on 2 here, and what it'll do, it'll just give you this nice little table that you can do. And again, as I said, you can do this in a pivot table, and I'll actually do another video that shows that. But now we've got this information here that we can use with totals in it. Now, what if I wanted to add, and what if I also want to know the averages for each of those? I could do that. If I go back into my main table, and I'm going to click anywhere, let's just highlight the data again. And I'm going to go over back to subtotal. It's going to open my window. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to pick this time, instead of sum, I'm going to pick average. Okay. Now, it's going to tell me the average. And now I got this click down here that says replace current subtotals. I'm going to take that out because I want to include the current subtotals, but I want to add the averages to it. So when I hit OK, it's going to add another line to it. So I've got my average line, and I've got my subtotal line. And in fact, if I click on 4, that's what I'm showing. So 1 gives me the total, grand total, 2, and the grand average. 2 is going to give me, well, it doesn't want to, it goes. 2 is going to give me the grand average, and but it's also going to show me the totals for each department. If I click on 3, it's going to give me the totals and the average for each year. Okay, the totals and the average for each year. And if I click on 4, it takes me back to the original data. So I can stack these subtotals on top of one another. I want you to see something in here. If we just click on one of these totals, let's click on the subtotal for 2016 sales. You'll see there's a function up here. This is actually a function. So this over here on the bar up here to the right, upper right, is a tool on the ribbon. But this is actually a function that's built into Excel called Subtotal. And Subtotal, you can run these subtotals on different kinds of measures. If I go up and click on, just click anywhere in this inside this parenthesis and hit the Alt down arrow, it brings up the list of computational functions that are available to me. There's 11 of them. They're numbered 1 through 11, and there's also 101 through 111. And what's the difference? Well, the difference is if I was to shut some of these down, the 109 version is going to keep it's only going to show me the totals for the things that are shown. It's not going to show me the things that are hidden. Now remember, in Excel, we can hide things specifically, right? So if, for instance, I collapse, so right now this is the subtotal function, right? Let's say I'm just doing the subtotal function here. Well, I don't know what I did there. So I've got my subtotal function. If I was to collapse this, okay, notice it doesn't go away, it doesn't change, because I didn't hide the lines, I collapsed the lines. If I was to hide these lines and right click and hide them, I no longer have my 2016 subtotal. Well, actually I do have it, there it is. So it's right there, and I can reopen those. Okay, if I just highlight that, I can unhide those, and it gives me back my total. But if I had that as 109, okay, it's going to show me that. But watch what happens when I hide these 4 lines now. It goes to 0. See, they're hidden, so it doesn't include the total. I don't know when you'd ever want to use that feature, but it's there. So generally speaking, what you're going to see is you're going to see the subtotals. Now, where this is useful, when we're doing this with tables, you're going to see how we may just want to see the subtotals for when you're not see everything else, right? I don't have the filter here to turn off all the other years, but if I'm in tables, I can turn off all the other years, just look at 1 year at a time. And in that case, the 109 function would be much more useful instead of just the 9 function. So that's now, how do I get rid of all this? We just click anywhere in this area, go back up to subtotal, and click on remove all, and it's going to take you right back to your original data. So hopefully that helps on how to use the subtotal when you're dealing with a data range.